All right, in this video, I'm going to go over the 10.2 homework. Starting with number 1 here. So use your new conjectures to find the unknown lengths. And the new conjectures are going to involve two kinds of special right triangles. The 45, 45, 90, which is 1, 1, root 2. It's the basic ratio. And then it's 30, 60, 90, where you have the shorter leg, the longer leg, and the hypotenuse, 1, root 3, and 2. And that basic ratio will help you to solve these problems. And so this is an isosceles triangle, so that means these are both 72, and so A would be 72 root 2. Okay. Next, number 2. Looks like we also have an isosceles right triangle, and that's going to make both of these 13. B is going to be 13 centimeters. Since the length of the hypotenuse in this isosceles right triangle is 13 root 2, so by the isosceles right triangle conjecture, the length of each of the legs is 13 centimeters, and so B must be 13. We can find this by dividing the hypotenuse by the square root of 2, right? So if we're going backwards, we can take this and we're just dividing it by the square root of 2, and that's going to be equal to 13. So that's how we got that. Okay. Number 3, which isn't on the homework. But I'll just do it real quick. This would be 5 root 3. And A would be 10 centimeters. And the reason is because the 30, 60, 90 triangle with the given length of 5, which is a shorter leg. And so by the 30, 60, 90 triangle conjecture, the length of the hypotenuse is twice the length of the shorter leg. So A is going to be twice the length of the shorter leg, which is 10 centimeters. And the length of the longer leg is length of the shorter leg times root 3. So the length of the shorter leg is 5, so B is 5 times root 3. Okay, let's see here. Number 4. So in this situation, we're given a 30, 60, 90 triangle, and we're given a length of 20 centimeters, and 20 centimeters is the length of the hypotenuse. So by the 30, 60, 90 triangle conjecture, the length of the shorter leg is half the length of the hypotenuse. So D is equal to 1/2 the length of the hypotenuse, and that's going to mean D is equal to 10. And the length of the longer leg is the length of the shorter leg times root 3. So C is going to be the length of the shorter leg times root 3, or 10 root 3 centimeters. Number 5, again, this is a 30, 60, 90 triangle. We're given a side that is 17 times the square root of 3. And that's the length of the longer leg. And so by the 30, 60, 90 triangle conjecture, the length of the shorter leg is the length of the longer leg divided by root 3. So F is equal to 17 root 3 divided by root 3. So that cancels. So that left with 17 centimeters. And the hypotenuse, of course, is twice the length of the shorter leg. So twice 17. It's going to be 34 centimeters. Okay. Well, again, we have by the 30, 60, 90 triangle in the given length, 9 centimeters is the length of the shorter leg, And the length k plus 3 root 3 is the length of the longer leg. So by the 36-90 triangle conjecture, length of the longer leg is the length of the shorter leg multiplied by root 3. So in other words, k plus 3 root 3 is equal to, the length of the shorter leg times root 3. And so that means that k, if you subtract 3 root 3 from both sides, you get 6 root 3. And the units of that are centimeters. Okay. Next step is we have a solid cube. All right, so this problem is actually going to involve 2 different triangles. So let's focus first on the triangle here on the base of the cube. Now this triangle, if you look at it from a top view, is an isosceles right triangle where both of the legs are 12, and we need to try to find the length of the hypotenuse, which is c, and that's this distance right here. And so that's going to mean that c is going to be 12 root 2. So we can draw another triangle where we have, this is B and H and D, and this is the length of C. This is 12 root 2. This is just the length of one of the sides, which is 12, and we're trying to find HB. We're going to label that D. Trying to find that distance D. So with this, we can just use Pythagorean theorem. So this is a right angle, so 12 squared plus 12 root 2 squared equals d squared. So that's going to be 144 plus, and 12 root 2 squared times 12 root 2 is 12 root 2 times 12 root 2. So this is 12 times 12 times root 2 times root 2 equals d squared. So that's going to be 144 plus 144 times 2, which ends up being 432. And so the square root of 432 is equal to d. Now I can actually simplify that, and that's the same thing as square root of 144 times the square root of 3. And that's going to simplify then down to 12 root 3. And so that would be your final answer. Okay. What is the area of the triangle? Well, let's see here. This is an isosceles right triangle. Oh, and so to find the length of those 2 sides, by the isosceles right triangle conjecture, let's just call this S and S. S is going to equal 8 divided by root 2. And we can use that as both the length and the height of the triangle. So the area is going to be 1/2 times the base times the height, S times S. So it's 1/2 8 over root 2 times 8 over root 2. And so that's going to be 64 divided by 2. And don't forget the 1/2 here. 1/2 times 64 over 2. That's the same thing as 1/2 times 32, which is equal to 16, and then our units are centimeters squared. All right, coordinates of P, number 10. So you're trying to determine the coordinates of P. From the figure, we can see that X and Y are the lengths of the legs of the triangle. Because it is isosceles, X equals Y. So we have, this is going to be X, and this is going to be Y, and this is going to be the same as the numbers in here. Because this triangle is isosceles, 45, 45, 90, X will equal Y, right? So we know that X is going to equal Y. The radius of the circle is 1. This length is 1. From the figure, notice the hypotenuse of the right triangle is the radius of the circle, so its length is 1. And by the isosceles right triangle conjecture, X equals 1 over root 2, and Y equals 1 over root 2. Right? So if the hypotenuse is 1, then X is going to equal 1 divided by root 2, and Y will equal 1 divided by root 2. And so that's going to be your coordinate then, is going to be 1 over root 2, comma 1 over root 2. Number 11, what's wrong with this picture? Well, in a 30, 60, 90 triangle, it must have sides whose lengths are multiples of 1, 2, and root 3. The triangle that's shown does not reflect this rule, right? Because 17 divided by 2 equals 8.5, which is not equal to 8. So we can see that it doesn't follow. And for example, also 8 root 3 is not equal to 15, which it should be. So the sides are not multiples okay. 15. So one of the overlapping triangles is CBD. That's this triangle right here. And we can see that there are actually 5 other triangles that are congruent to it. Those triangles are triangle CDA, triangle AEC, triangle AEB, triangle BFA, triangle BFC. And the smaller triangles, like if I use a different color here, like MDA, which triangles are congruent to that one? Well, this one over here is. And so it's going to be starting with triangle MBD. And next is triangle MEB. And then triangle MEC. And then triangle MFC. And triangle MFA. Nice. Okay. So again, it's good to note that in this triangle here, these are all medians. That's going to mean these are all the same. And they're all angle bisectors. So that's going to make all these the same. And because an equilateral triangle, each angle is 60 degrees, making each of these angles here 30 degrees. And so you have a bunch of 30, 60, 90 triangles inside of it. Okay, so number 18, equilateral triangle has an altitude that measures 26 meters. Find the area of the triangle to the nearest square meter. So if equilateral triangle has an altitude that is 26 meters. Now, if it's equilateral triangle, it's also a median, and it's also an angle bisector. So that's going to mean that both of these angles here are 30 degrees, making this, and this, these of course are both 60. So we have 30, 60, 90 triangles. So that's going to make, if I were to label this, let's say I label this like A. So A is going to be 26 divided by root 3 by the 30, because it's a 30, 60, 90 triangle. And the altitude of the equilateral triangle is the longer leg. So 26 is the longer leg of the triangle. So length of the shorter leg is 26 over root 3. Length of the base is twice that. So let's just say, gosh, let's call this whole length here B. Length of the base is going to be 2 times 26 over root 3, which is 52 over root 3. So your area is 1/2 times 52 over root 3 times my height. And that's going to equal 676 all over root 3, which is approximately 390. And we got meters squared. Okay, that concludes the 10.2 homework.